Mental health matters. Let me tell you, Johanse joins me, and it's another interesting talking point as we get into our independence just a couple days from now. And sometimes I ask myself this question as a Trinbagonian, you know, we sometimes ask ourselves, listen, you're too smart for your own good, you know, sometimes we're too smart for our own good. I want to really let Johanse expand on this one, and of course wish you Independence greetings in advance.
Thank you very much, Jason, and to everyone watching, happy Independence also.
I mean, when you say you are too smart for your own good, elaborate.
All right. So this came to me when I had, no lying, one day I had 3 clients come with the same issue. They said, Johanse, why it is us wait till last minute to do things, right? I have 2 weeks, I have a month, etc. And one person, they like the rush. And after analyzing 3 of them, I realized, even myself, right? I realized when you have intelligence, when you're smart, or when you have natural ability in a certain area, sometimes you just wait. You just like the excitement. So let's say, we're not even using academic. Let's say you're a good carpenter and you have a project to do. Because you know you could do it well, you wait till last minute. But many times when you wait till last minute, you can't factor in certain elements that may happen. Let's say rainfall, you ain't get the equipment you need, etc., etc. So you end up being too smart for your own good.
Yeah, it's true. And we see that time and time again, and probably if I'm honest with myself, I fall in that bracket.
Yes, yes.
Because I'll know I have to travel weeks in advance, and I will wait until the actual data pack. Russian, Christmas Eve, you know, I know hitting the grocery. That's, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll have some stuff in advance, but I guess a part of me, part of us sometimes, I guess, is it that you put the pressure on yourself so you can perform at your best? Sometimes people need to operate under that kind of pressure, you know, that kind of timeline, so that at least you could, I don't know, probably it's an excitement. Must be some kind of excitement you get out of it, you want to say?
So, yes. So one person, a few people actually said excitement, but what they realized is the rest of their life was kind of boring. So they wasn't living in their full potential. They weren't doing things that brought them excitement. So these small elements, they would inject excitement into their own life, which sometimes end up being to their detriment because, again, you can't factor in the future. You don't know what happened if you wait till the last minute. And I'm saying this because everyone has a natural ability. So I'm not going with book sense per se. Everyone is born with a natural ability. It could be academics also. And understanding that natural ability is not the only thing you need. You also need planning and hard work. And because you're bright, right? And I'll use it especially in school. You have plenty children who are bright. So therefore, they know they could do the work. They end up playing in class. They end up making noise. They end up waiting until last minute because they know they'll get through either way. And then it translates into adulthood. And then I'll add, even sometimes, typically, the Trini workman mentality. We have plenty of workmen in Trinidad who are very talented, but because they're talented, they wait till last minute. They mightn't get a proper estimate because they could still wing it anyway. So that kind of excitement, one, and then 2, also relying too much on the natural ability, because that's not the only factors there.
This could give you your answer a full sense of security, and ultimately, yes, it might work at the start, but at some point, people figure you out, you know.
Correct. And they know that you're intelligent. They know that you're good at it, but that's not the only element necessary. And if you look at the people who think, I'm saying think here because everyone born with natural ability, but some people think, you know, I didn't really born with any smarts, I'm not really good at anything. Those people work hard because they think that they don't have any natural ability, and you know what? They end up being a success because they put in the planning, they put in the extra work, they put in the consistency because they think they don't have the intelligence.
So you're suggesting here that planning, putting in that work will always beat natural ability?
Well, putting in that work is necessary whether you think you have natural ability or not, and it's even extra because I'll say us as Trinidadians, a lot of us, we good at many things. And because we Trinidad, we get through either way. We even have the mentality, even God is our Trini, we will always get through. We have this mentality, so therefore we don't put the adequate planning in place. And then when it's last minute, then we scrambling.
Being almost reactive as opposed to proactive.
Correct. And sometimes that's a curse. It's a blessing to be intelligent, but also that is a curse at times.
But that's also kind of part of our culture, and as we know, culture is one of the hardest things to change. How do we start to make that shift to become a little more proactive as opposed to reactive? Because that's what I've seen in my lifetime being here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Humility.
Humility.
Humility, because there's arrogance to think you could control tomorrows. Yeah.
But that must come from the top too. That had to come from leadership too.
Well, yeah.
And we have not seen no form of humility when it comes to leadership in this country. They are sometimes the most arrogant.
Well,
that's the reality. Across the board, and we're looking
cultural, right? We have a culture of arrogance because we will get through either way. We just know everything will work out either way instead of putting in the proper work.
Wow, humility, you know, your bola yoka there, I didn't expect that to be the response because yes, it makes sense, but the reality is leadership. And we just talk, and we're not talking just public sector, you know, even private sector leadership. There seems to be a sense of, well, we from Trinidad, we are, you know, this kind of chest out.
Yeah, I mean, from even since before I was born, we are oil money, we always getting through, right?
Yeah, and sometimes with that comes a level, the arrogance, we see a level of also entitlement.
We see it.
Yeah, and as we're moving away from that entitlement, you're seeing people really grousing now because, you know, when the reality of the day is hitting us now, a lot of people feel a certain way because it's like, you know, what's going on?
You know what that is? That arrogance, that entitlement, sometimes that natural ability, sometimes it breeds weakness. Mental and emotional weakness. So I know I will get through either way. So when you face even a little hardship, you don't even know what to do. You're bawling, you're screaming because I look at a lot of some Trinidadians and they're saying how bad things are, but a lot of people not putting the things in place. Let's go simple as diversifying our economy, right? We know that is what's necessary. I'm not saying some people not doing it, but everybody's still looking for the same old methodology. Well, I will go and get a government job. I will get a degree and I'll go and work for a private company. I will do all the things that were relevant about 20, 25 years, maybe 50 years ago. And they don't have the resilience or the mental and emotional fortitude to do now what is necessary for our country to move forward.
Interesting, you know. I mean, well, you open a whole different conversation there. So my question is, how do we even start to get that humility to seep into and to become part of our existence, the fabric of Trinidad and Tobago, when we have been so entitled and we have had this chest out, chin in the air attitude for so many decades?
One, acknowledge that nothing lasts forever, right? And again, that is arrogance to think that, well, we'll always, the storm will always pass. Right? The oil money will always be there. Because I bright at whatever it is, that I will always get through.
Do you also think, Johan, say that because we have had no disaster? I mean, okay, the last moment that kind of had everybody in an uproar would have been probably 1990, the attempted coup. Prior to that would have been 1970. I mean, I was around 1990. It didn't really impact me. I was a child. It had the water riots at the turn of the last century. But we've never had no hurricane. We've never had a moment where what we saw with Ivan, what it did to Grenada, what we saw with Maria, what it did to Dominica and Gilbert, what it did to Jamaica. We've never had a kind of reset moment, you know. So I wonder if because of that also, we go with this false sense of entitlement, security, that, okay, well, you know, we just going about living.
Well, if we're going from a psychological level, it's not really a false sense. I'll explain. It's false because we know that we can't predict the future. We don't know what will happen. That's one. But it's not false because how the brain works. If I accustomed to one thing for the whole of my life, then to my mind, it is real. So if I never experience a hurricane, in my mind, then a hurricane would never come. Which, of course, I am explaining it. I'm not condoning it. but I'm explaining why people would think they're okay. But also understanding it's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to have all the too many preparations than none at all.
But how come the men in Tobago then understand that when the threat of burial recently, and men in Tobago did Sunday school and they were right there by the shoreline having a party this Sunday when we were expecting the storm to come?
The same arrogance, because I will get through either way, right? And it's unfortunate that some people need to experience trauma before making a turn. Some people need to reach rock bottom before making a change.
Kind of like what the old-timers, our grandparents would say, who can hear will feel.
Exactly so. And I lived a lot of my life like that, and I reached the stage, I don't need to feel anymore, I have enough foresight, and I think a lot of our viewers watching, they have enough foresight, they live enough to know that I should put these things in place one time.
Johan, so I'll let you have the final say. Very interesting one this morning.
Nation, even though you have natural ability, doesn't mean that you have to wait till last minute to do what is necessary. Don't make life complicated, because even though life is not easy, it's really not that hard. Thank you for listening.
A very interesting one, as always, Johan say, giving us an important message going into our 62nd anniversary of independence.